So good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nandita Bhattacharjee, and today I am hosting this session. I welcome all of you. This is my first session in this platform. So, I apologize, in the very beginning, if there are any missteps on my part. Please do take it as a learning experience for me and help me, grow along with all of you. So welcome everyone, all teachers, um, trainers, colleagues, everyone. And again, my name is Nandita Bhattacharjee, and I'm the host for today's session. So I have about 10 years in teaching experience. And prior to that, I was also in corporate training, where I gave both product training as well as soft skills training. So before we proceed further, just a few ground rules that we need to mention every time. So we'll keep our phones on silent mode and, whatever is to maintain decorum and all that. So I'll start the session with a very generic slide where, it shows all these emojis about how we are feeling today. So each of you can take a look at the picture and identify with a certain emoji at this present time. How are you feeling? Are you happy? Are you sad? Do you feel burdened, etc., etc.? And once you have identified that feeling, keep that in mind, because today's session is closely related to how we feel, what the emotions are. Because as teachers, trainers, we carry our emotions into the space that we are going to. So today's topic is happy classroom. It's a very, very close topic to my heart because, one of the reasons that I took up teaching was because, I was greatly influenced by my own teachers. They had a splendid presence in their classrooms, and the classrooms always used to be, other than certain subjects that I was always afraid of, like math or science or whatever. Uh, it was generally a very, very positive environment that I had the, privilege of being a student of. So this topic is very close to my heart, very dear to my heart. That's why I wish to share this with all of you. So when we think of a happy classroom, what is it? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Can anybody share? What's the first thing that comes to our mind?
Ma'am, it's happy teacher, which is
Okay,
directly proportional to happy classroom, which is directly
absolutely.
proportional to happy students.
Absolutely, absolutely correct. Any other observations? Anything else
Children are
anybody wants
waiting
to share?
anxiously for the teacher, and the
Waiting
teacher
anxiously
comes
for
with a
them.
beaming smile on her face.
Absolutely. Very, very important. Yes. Anyone else? Anyone else wants to share? Okay. So we all have our own ideas about what a happy classroom constitutes of, but what does it really what is it that identifies it as a happy classroom? Okay, so I have a very short clip here. I just want you to look at it first. I'm sure many of you have already seen it or seen something similar. Okay, so this is actually a primary school teacher from Japan. And I had seen one of her interviews also. She was the first one to start it in Japan. And I had seen her interview where she was very enthusiastic. These small children, they come to school, they spend such long time in the school with other students and their teachers. So they asked her, why did you do this? What is the significance of it? And then she said, when children come, if at the very beginning we give them this happy, boisterous, and lively introduction to the day, then it is only natural that the rest of the day also will go similarly happy for them. So you start with a very, very welcoming and accommodating sort of dance and sing, and make them feel immediately make them feel wanted and the space that they are going to occupy. So it's not only in Japan. I was very happy to see something similar our teachers in India are also trying to do. So I found this clip also. So you see how this teacher is welcoming her students. Okay. So, and it's not just about having doing this with only the small children. Even grown-ups, children in who are in high school, teachers can also extend such a welcome. It doesn't have to be so physical, but yes, you can also try something innovative to welcome them all. So immediately you establish that open, free space where you're welcomed, you're happy, and you can, for some time at least, keep your tensions aside, right? So today's session is all about a happy classroom, how we identify happy classrooms, what makes a happy classroom, what are the different strategies we can employ to create that happy classroom, and do happy classrooms actually work? Do they have any benefits, in the long run? And finally, we may get a little swayed away with only happy, 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 and forget all about, the actual academic rigor that comes with, being a student and a teacher. So how to have that balancing act, how to maintain a happy classroom, yet get all the work done. Okay, so these are the few things that we are going to discuss today. Now, when we think of a happy classroom, it's not just about children with smiling faces and, laughing and, having fun in the class. It is much, much beyond that, right? So how do we identify a happy classroom? What are the characteristics that make up for a happy classroom? So I have listed out, there are many, many characteristics, but I have listed out 6 of them, which are very essential, in order to have a happy classroom, or in order to preserve the happy classroom. So the first is a positive and safe environment, strong teacher-student relationships, engaging and relevant learning, celebration of success and effort, flexible and inclusive practices, and mindfulness and quiet times. Okay, so briefly speaking, these are the 6 main ingredients that go happy. So now what I'll do is just go through them briefly, each one point by point. So when we say a positive and safe environment, what is it exactly that we mean? Within a positive and safe environment, there are actually 3 components. So one is the physical safety of both the child and the teacher, the emotional safety of both the child and the teacher, and social safety of both the child and the teacher. So what do we mean by physical safety? Physical safety essentially means that, what measures is the school or the teacher in that classroom taking to ensure that the students are protected from all kinds of harm? The harm again could be physical harm, which includes probably violence or accidents or threats. So when I say violence, I mean violence from both the teacher as well as the students, in their interactions. Is there any violent component? Then, is the classroom designed to be safe? Does it provide children free access of movement and all that? Okay, so all these goes into ensuring that the children are physically safe. Then comes emotional safety. What do we mean by emotional safety? Emotional safety means, a child should be able to have that space where he or she can have the confidence to express themselves. Okay, express themselves not only to the teacher but also to the students or his or her peers in the classroom. So many a times as teachers, we may have noticed that children are full of ideas, right? They're brimming with ideas. But somehow, when you ask them a direct question, they may not feel confident enough to say what they feel, or because they fear that what they say will not be accepted, or maybe they will be ridiculed, or if the teacher doesn't like it, then she may actually go up and punish them. So it becomes the responsibility of the teacher as well as the students in the classroom to provide that safe space where a child can voice his or her opinions without the fear of all these things. And finally, we have the social safety. Now, what is social safety? When children come from different backgrounds, right? They come from different family dynamics. So every child is unique. Every child is different. In order for us as teachers to be able to assimilate them in the classroom and give them both the physical and emotional security, social security is of paramount importance. Because here you protect the child not only from the physical and emotional components, you also give them that space where you protect them from bullying, things like bullying, or sometimes even physical harm, and giving them the emotional support. Sometimes children come from very broken families also. They may not be all chirpy and happy, when they come to the classroom. So the teacher, it falls mainly on the teacher to identify that and keep a sort of a close eye on that child, whether he or she is emotionally safe, whether he or she is dragging that burden of that home, the fears and the tension of home into the school, right? And then make them feel safe that, yes, you're heard. Yes, we are there for you if you need us. Okay? So essentially, that safe and positive environment encompasses both all the three: physical, emotional, and social safety. The second component, the second characteristic of a happy classroom is a very strong teacher and student relationship. In fact, I feel, having been a teacher myself, that this is extremely important because it is the teacher who's like the pilot, right? Or the captain of the ship. She's sort of steering the classroom into the direction that she takes, right? And all the children will follow suit. If the teacher is unapproachable, if she is not, if she does not give the space for others to communicate or voice their opinions, sometimes children, when we are taking classes, children may not understand a subject matter. Okay. Fault. It could be, something that the teacher needs to work on, maybe explain things a little better and all that. But if the child does not feel that he or she can come up and ask a question, then I think it is a huge failure on our part. So in ensuring that we give them that space, make them feel safe enough to ask questions or clarify their doubts, all these becomes very, very important. So open communication means not only the child, but also the teacher should have that space to speak properly. Empathy and support. Like I said, we all come from diverse backgrounds. We have our own problems. Whether we are able to empathize with the child or, the children during our course in the class. And finally, positive rapport. Positive rapport between the children and the teacher, between the child and the other children. Okay, so everything should be in a very open and communicative way, so that the children feel safe and wanted, and they have that eagerness to look forward to the classroom. Then comes engaging and relevant learning. So what is engaging and relevant learning? Um, Many a times we have noticed that we go to a classroom and we take out the textbook, we read a few lines from the textbook, and we expect children to be, like sponges sitting there and absorbing what we are saying. But if our delivery is not engaging, if the students don't feel, attracted to what we are saying, then it becomes a problem. So when it comes to engaging and relevant learning, it should be, active learning. It should be a student-centric approach, and there should be a lot of collaboration and teamwork within the classroom. So how do we go for active learning? Active learning is actually very student-centered. Can anyone tell me what we mean by student-centric learning?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes, please.
Student-centered means in which we focus on the learning of a student rather than teacher explaining everything. The student should be involved in everything.
Correct. Very, very true. So when we, when we make the learning process a student-centric learning, then the focus shifts from the teacher onto the student. It becomes all about the student. We tell them, or we instruct them, or we teach them, but they are the ones who are absorbing it. So we sort of handhold them and guide them to take ownership of their learning. So how do we let them take ownership of the learning? By having an interactive classroom, right? Where we say something, we take pauses, we ask questions, we give space for them to ask questions, right? And we encourage them that way to do a little bit of brainstorming in their own heads also, right? And so they become more open to the approach. Then they realize that it's not just the teacher who comes and tells us, oh, we are going to do this chapter today, take out your books, underline these lines and all that, right? So that becomes a very rote form of learning. Instead, if we can shift the focus to the student, then it becomes more meaningful. Then, what is what is collaboration and teamwork? So within a classroom, I don't know if you have noticed it, as soon as you give them some activity, or as soon as you ask them a question or form groups and tell them, okay, I give this group this question, I give that group that question. Now you deliberate amongst yourselves and tell me what is the answer to this question. And you will find they really enjoy it, right? Of course, there's a little bit of chaos when the children are younger. There's a little bit of chaos. Everybody wants to speak their mind. Everybody wants to, contribute. And in that process, they are learning something very, very important. And that is collaboration outside of the classroom. So we make them prepared. We make them social ready, right? Because these. So we give them this, we make them team people where, they know that they are part of a whole and their opinion matters, their contribution matters, and they become more enthusiastic in the teaching learning process. Okay? Then the by far one of the most important characteristics of a happy classroom is celebration of success and effort. Now, you will notice that I have put the word effort right next to success. Because if we teachers only concentrate on the child being successful, then we are again sending a wrong message. The ability of the child, or the enthusiasm, or the push of the child, the drive of the child to say something, whether it is right or wrong, should also be appreciated. Just like we like to be appreciated, children love it when they are appreciated for their contributions. So how do we celebrate success and how do we celebrate effort? The same way. Okay, when a child is successful, say you have if you're a math teacher and you write a problem on the board, and you just call up a student and ask that student to come and solve that math problem. A confident child, a child who knows, will definitely come up and just write things on the board, and everybody will praise him, and he will be more motivated to do the same thing in future. But there may be another child who may not know the answer, but is willing to try. Okay, so he or she comes forward and he or she attempts it on the board like the other child, and it is not the correct answer. So what should we do as teachers? Should we say, oh, no, you're wrong, that is not the right answer, have you not paid attention to my class when I taught you? This is not the way to do it, and this and that. That will completely demotivate that child, right? So what we ideally should be doing is telling the child, A+ for your efforts. You have done a very good job of coming up and writing on the board. But, however, this may not be the right answer. This is not the right answer. This is how you do it. And then you help the child to learn anew, right? So this becomes a really big motivation for the child. He or she knows that even if he or she makes a mistake, then it will not be ridiculed. Rather, it will be celebrated as an effort. Then we can have personalized rewards. This is something, I have done as a teacher, where every time a child shows something, it could be a beautiful drawing that was not necessary, or something, making a comic strip, or just getting 10 out of 10 in some small classroom exam, or whatever it is. Try to, give them some personalized reward. So in order to give a personalized reward, we must also understand what the child will value. A star, or a small flower, maybe a paper flower that you can prepare and keep, or a small badge there where you can write something very motivational and give the child. So that becomes a huge motivational factor for the child. And because of all these motivation and encouragement going on, the child becomes happy. And that is the purpose. That is our purpose. Then feedback opportunities. Feedback opportunities play a very crucial role, because you're telling the child that what she or he has done is great or not so great, right? So how you present the feedback, are you critical, or do you apply the sandwich method, where you say something positive, then you point out what needs to be worked on, and then you fill it up with another positive aspect again. So this feedback is not only for the child. I think the child should also be able to say, ma'am, you were so quick in the classroom that day, I could not follow anything, whatever you said. Can you please explain this to me again? So as teachers, instead of saying, oh, no, I don't have the time, I have to finish this course material, I have to finish this and that. Instead of doing that, what you should be doing is, saying that, okay, I will do that. Probably not in this class, but if you can meet me during your break for 2 minutes, I will be able to help you out in this. Or if you find that the class in general needs a recap, you can do so. You can plan it out in your lesson plan itself, right? Then comes celebration of progress, not just success. So sometimes there are children, who from day one, they are performing better than the others. They understand better, they absorb better, they show that they have understood better. But there are also children who are equally trying, right? And if you notice, if you pay attention to your students, if you notice, then you will see some of them are actually making progress. So he or she may not know the timetable of 9 when the class started, when this academic year started. But after 2-3 months, you realize that the child has mastered all the tables, right? And that is a huge thing. He or she may not be getting all the math questions correct, but the fact that there is progress, which shows that there is promise. So we must give that extra bit of attention to the child. So what happens is the child feels, renewed enthusiasm to learn even further. Then avoidance of comparison. I think all of us, whether it is at home, being mothers to children, or whether it is in school, or in our own personal lives, the shadow of comparison does come, right? If we are honest with ourselves, we do make comparisons, right? Especially in the staff room when we are sitting and discussing, or we are correcting papers or their notebooks, we do compare. Oh, look how beautifully this child has written. Oh, look what nonsense this child has written, right? But that is a very, very regressive way of going about things, because if the child gets an inkling, even little bit also, that my teacher has not appreciated what I have done, then the child becomes sad, and that sadness again will pile up, and the child will gradually go to the background. So comparison is never healthy unless there is some kind of competitive, positive competitive aspect that we want to put to it. So we must avoid comparison as far as possible. And finally, a culture of recognition, to recognize when the child has done something. There may be a child who has never attempted or never raised a hand in the class and said, "Ma'am, can I answer this question?" But the minute he does it, you applaud it. You show the child that you have recognized the fact that this child has made the attempt to, come up and say something, right? So celebration of success and effort. Then we have flexible and inclusive practices. Can anyone tell me what we mean by flexible and inclusive practices? What is being flexible in the classroom mean? When we say, we should be flexible in the classroom, what is it that we are implying? We do yoga poses.
May I?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, actually, inclusivity means like we have diversity of the learners and we also have different learning styles. So
Correct.
I feel that we need to be flexible according to the students, whether it is
Absolutely.
making of the assessment or, teaching learning process.
Absolutely.
So according to me,
Yes.
thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. This is actually the whole gist of flexible and inclusive practices. Within the flexible and inclusive practices, we have flexible and inclusive learning. Okay. And it is actually a part of FIT, FIT. Now, FIT means flexible, individualized, and targeted learning. Okay. So what happens is, because of the diversity in the classroom, diversity also has many meanings. Diversity of, our background, diversity of physical attributes, diversity in our, each and everything plays a role within that classroom, right? So when we have, when we emphasize the diversity in the classroom, when we ensure that our teaching learning process is addressing the needs of all the children, then we truly have a successful classroom. So basically, it means that we tailor or we sort of sculpt our teaching to meet the diverse needs of all the students. And by meaning, as you will see in the picture itself, there are physically challenged students. These days, the government has made it, I think, sort of mandatory to also have slightly mentally challenged students also with. And it becomes the responsibility of the teacher and the school to be able to make that teaching learning process a diverse one that addresses the needs of all the students, right? So within this, we have flexible learning where our instructional methods, our learning materials, or assessments, the kind of assessments that we design, all of them should be inclusive, right? Because different children have different learning paces. Not all of them learn in the same pace. I may not learn something in the same speed as my peer. So it should be designed in such a way that all these needs are met. So inclusive language, we also have to understand that we speak in such a way that is that the child understands. You cannot be saying things in the classroom and the child is just staring and looking at you, doesn't understand anything, right? So the language has to be proper. So we use, not in our country, but in the West, they have already started using gender neutral, addressing. For example, they hesitate to call boys and girls because that may not be their preferred gender, though it is still not prevalent in our country yet, in a mass scale. But these are also things that they are taking care of. Then we also, should emphasize that there is no discrimination based on the different disabilities that a child has. Then when we are addressing children in the classroom, it is always very nice to call the child by the name. It shows the child that you understand the child, you know the child is important for you, and you remember the name of the child. That immediately creates a bond. Okay. Then differentiated instruction. Of course, differentiated instruction is, we cannot teach in an environment where one size fits all, because it doesn't. So every child has different requirements. And though it may not be possible to identify each and every child that is different, and, because we may have a classroom full of 40 students and we have only about 40 minutes to take our class. So it may not be individually possible, but we create that over time. We understand and we create that space where their questions are answered and their confusions are addressed. Then accessibility and collaboration. So what do we mean by accessibility and collaboration? Again, whether the child has access, all the children have access to the learning materials, whether there is enough collaboration within the children and the teacher for them to take the learning forward. Okay. Now, inclusive assessment I've actually kept for the last, because it is a very, very important, even the NEP has mentioned it. NEP 2020 has mentioned that there should be inclusive assessment, which means that, if you do something like this, then there is likelihood of failure becomes really high. So as you can see in this picture, it's a very common picture. I'm sure all of you have seen it. So it says, for a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Now imagine you're asking an elephant, a fish, can they ever do that? It is beyond their capability. It is beyond their physical attributes to be able to climb a tree. However, you have a monkey there who can do it. You have a bird who can possibly fly up and sit there, right? So they are already at an advantage. They already have the advantage. And the elephant and the fish already are at a disadvantage. So while you may have prepared an exam that is equal, it does not showcase equity. So we have to keep that in mind when we create our assessments. I'm sure CBSE teachers know that there are, we have to prepare separate question papers for learners who are slightly slower than the rest. We give them that option where they can choose to write a paper that is not the regular one, that is not the one given for the entire classroom. Okay. All right. And finally, we come to another important characteristic, and that is mindfulness and quiet times. These are so important, especially when you have children from the lower grades, because they are as it is, they have a lot of energy about them. And then, all these energy needs to be directed towards something positive, needs to be channeled in a proper way so that they can pay their full attention when the class is going on. So what does mindfulness mean? Can anyone tell me? Nowadays, there's a lot of talk about mindfulness, but what does mindfulness actually mean?
Mind.
Any idea? Yes.
Presence of mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Presence of mind.
Presence of mind. Very good. Anything else?
Doing things in a proper manner, right manner. Having the positive approach.
Very good. Yes.
Paying attention to the happenings around them.
Absolutely. Very good.
Doing the things enthusiastically.
Very good. Yes. Absolutely. All these points make up mindfulness. So essentially, mindfulness can be summarized by intention, attention, and awareness. So what are intention, attention, and awareness? So mindfulness is actually something deliberate, right? It is something that we are recognizing and doing. So intention becomes important. So, for example, if you want to, if your classroom is suddenly become very chaotic and noisy, what do? You, instead of, shouting and screaming like we sometimes are tempted to do, what should we do? We can take a leaf out of the mindfulness practice. We can let them focus on the present moment, being aware of their thoughts and feelings. How can we do that? We can ask them to, just close their eyes for a minute and just concentrate on their breathing. Okay, that becomes a breathing exercise. We can tell them, focus on your breathing when you're breathing in, focus on your breathing when you're breathing out. And gradually, you will see that some sort of calmness comes over them. Okay, they become aware of themselves. As soon as the intention is applied, the attention comes automatically. They will put their attention to their breathing. And then they will become focused on the present moment. The teacher can then highlight that, along with your breathing, how do you feel any sensations? They become aware. The teacher can say, touch your forearms. So they touch their forearms. Are you aware of the feeling of your forearms? So what you're essentially doing is providing that intention into, creating the attention with the intention and giving them a feel of the present moment, right? And this present moment awareness, whether it is the sensations in their body or listening to the sounds around or observing, developing the power of observation of their own thoughts, what really help them focus it builds calmness in them, and it helps them focus. So when that mindfulness period is done, then you will actually find a classroom that is more responsive, that that is more attentive to what we are saying in the classroom. It also helps to do some sort of emotional regulation. Unfortunately, you will find lots of children with mental health issues nowadays, right? It could stem from being on the spectrum, whether it is the autism spectrum or whether it is ADHD or whatever it is, right? So there are children there who really need to practice these things on a constant, constantly, for them to be able to be there sitting in the class and trying to pay attention to the teacher. Okay, it improves their focus, it improves their concentration, and greatly reduces the stress and the anxiety that they might be feeling. So as teachers, what we can do is we can have structured downtime. So structured downtime is where, you plan these supervised breaks. You give them a break and you give them a free time for certain activities, okay, that allow creativity. Maybe ask them to draw something, or maybe ask them to, put their, do some research on some sort of a project that they might want to do for something and all that, okay? So basically, you shift their responsibility onto themselves. So you will find that, they are less stressed, they're less anxious. It also helps them to regulate themselves, because otherwise they'll be all over the place, shouting, screaming, or maybe talking to each other in the classroom. All of that considerably goes down when you have these mindfulness and quiet times. Okay. So how has it been so far, teachers? Have I been able to address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So now comes, I think, the topmost important part: happy teachers, happy classrooms. So we have a happy teacher, and along with the happy teacher, we definitely have a happy classroom. Now, in this, I would really like to share my own experience as a child. When I was in school, we had our geography teacher who was just amazing. She used to come to the classroom beautifully dressed, looking very attractive, and we wanted to look to her. We used to wait for her to come to the classroom because she used to be so poised and so beautiful, not just physically beautiful. Her presence, the aura that she carried was so nice. And whatever she explained, I could remember, I would retain in my head for a long, long time. And that is because she exudes that. When she walks into the classroom, she ensures that she has grabbed the attention of her students, not just with how she looks, but with her demeanor. So, and we found that she was always happy. She was always with a smile. As we got older, and now me being a teacher, I know that she, in fact, was not always happy, but she ensured that before she stepped into the classroom, she left that baggage outside of the classroom and gave her 100% into the classroom to the waiting students. So when you are happy, or when you show, or when you project your happiness or your boisterousness, then what you do is you have increased engagement, right? You have increased engagement means your children are more receptive. So whatever you are saying, the children are receiving. And as they receive, they are questioning, they are clarifying doubts, and it becomes a very interactive classroom. This in turn brings stronger relationships. You will find that not only is the child paying attention to the teacher, the child is also interacting with the peers in a more productive manner, because that is what the teacher is highlighting. And To reduce burnout, teachers who prioritize their own happiness and the happiness of their children are better at managing stress, right? And that really helps them from being burnt out also. A teacher's job is not easy. We all know. We have to keep on talking, going to different classrooms in different age groups. Every time we step into the classroom, we have to ensure that we do justice to the classroom that we are going to. And since no two classrooms are same, we are constantly adapting, constantly changing ourselves, constantly evolving to meet the needs of our students. So teacher burnout is a real possibility. And when we prioritize our own happiness, we reduce that burnout and we give a more nurturing environment to the children. And what do I mean when I say, happy teachers? It means that there are certain things that I am doing consciously as a teacher, which is practicing gratitude. There are always challenges. There will always be challenges. Nobody's life is a piece of cake. We are constantly battling our own demons. We are constantly battling our tensions at home or outside, whatever it is. But to be able to, focus on the positive aspects, really helps. We can build sort of a support system that we can rely on. Teachers helping other teachers, or being that some sort of a support system that we build really helps. Then we can also look for activities that help rejuvenate us. Okay, things we can take up a hobby, or we can take up maybe attend some kind of a life enhancing course. Whatever it is that we feel comfortable about, we can join these things, participate in those activities, and essentially we'll find that once it's like watering plants. It's like watering plants. So you have to nurture them. Just like you nurture your children, just like you nurture the children in your classroom, you also have to nurture yourself, because really you can't pour from an empty cup, right? If you're wanting others to be happy and to respond to you with happiness, you will also have to give them that happiness to be able to respond, right? So personal growth is extremely important for teachers to be able to radiate that and onto the classroom. Okay. So now that we have identified what the characteristics are, I think the benefits of a happy classroom are, they are extremely easy to point out. What we have is reduced stress, increased well-being, improved academic performance, obviously, because when children are motivated, they will go ahead and study, and they will be better performers. Then you have enhanced socio-emotional learning. Socio-emotional learning is, in an social environment, how do you regulate your emotions and learn better? Then you have improved retention of information. Then you have fostering a positive attitude towards learning and development of life skills. Life skills here becomes important, because you're basically nurturing the child to be able to go outside of the classroom and do better, right? Because the classroom is just a very mini presentation of what they are going to face in outside of the classroom in future. So, as this happy classroom concept grew all around the world, it also has become quite important for our for the Ministry of Education, which is why there is something that they have launched called the Happy Classroom in Delhi. I'm unable to read out from this page, because there are other things on the page, like, for example, our names and everything. So I'm unable to read out, but can you read what is there? I have actually given you the name of brookings.edu/articles. If you go there, then you will find a report on a happy classroom in Delhi. Okay, so teachers have actually in this happiness curriculum, Delhi's happiness curriculum, they have actually started having a happiness class. All right, and there are many things that they do in that class that is tailored to ensure that there is, it is addressed. Happiness is addressed, and if you can, kindly take some time and do a little bit of research about that, you yourself will find out, that it has actually worked. The last paragraph actually says what they have found in the study. So different government schools have employed these techniques, and it is still in its experimental stage, and they are still getting findings. They're still discovering new things, but it has become a topic of conversation. It has, I think, the government has also realized that we need to do something about bringing some kind of happiness onto the classroom. Okay, so maybe you can have a look at that. And finally, what are the tools and strategies that you can employ to have a happy classroom? So creating a sense of belonging. Actually, I'm really sorry that I'm hurrying this bit. I spoke too much the other points maybe. So creating a sense of belonging where students feel that space to speak, and they feel belonged in that environment. They don't feel left out. Give praise. When we give praise, they love it. Children love it. They love to be told that they are awesome, that they are, great, and immediately respond to that positive feedback. Okay, just maybe pat on the back and say, hey, good job. It's also, works like a miracle. Then using humor. Humor is very important because, when I used to teach, I would always fall back on humor and share things from my own childhood or my own daily experiences. And that way, not only are they laughing, they are also relating to me more, because, these are very common things. And we find that these are shared things also. So, we find common ground and we laugh together. Then using brain breaks. What are brain breaks? Where you give them some free time, some downtime to do what they wish to do, something productive. Okay, you will always find a child who wants to do something, maybe creative, maybe academic, whatever it is. Just give them that brain break. Maybe read a book that they have brought with themselves. Then we can incorporate fun activities with the help of music. And, sometimes we give them choices. What is it that they want to learn about today? I know it's not possible when you have a lesson plan to follow, but sometimes maybe, give them that opportunity that, this is something that they want to learn today, and give them that space where they can volunteer that. Then finally, show them how to practice kindness and gratitude. Without gratitude, we are not human beings. And as long as we teach our children to be grateful, I think it really, really helps them build a character and be better and more responsible, productive individuals in the future, right? However, being all positive and being all, ensuring that there is always only happiness is not the right message to send also, because life is not only joy, right? We have to learn how to live joyfully amongst all the challenges. So when we are putting too much emphasis only on positive emotions, we are minimizing negative emotions, and that is not correct. That is not fair to the children who are possibly, dealing with something that others are not aware of. So only giving them that the impression that, positivity, then that positivity actually becomes toxic, right? So we have to make space for negative emotions also. And then it overshadows the need for rigorous instruction. Going to a classroom where you're preparing children for the boards or for, competitive exams, I don't think there is much space there to be only joyful and happy and, practice all these things, because the rigor, the academic rigor, then if we do not strike the balance, then the academic rigor falls short, which nobody wants, right? Then, of course, we have time constraints. We have 40 minutes possibly to teach something, maybe a whole new concept. We cannot be going there and only, cracking jokes or building positive environment. We also have to ensure that our target is met. So that balance is extremely important. And over time, we find the balance. There is no ready-made handbook, for us to say, okay, this is number one, I will do this today. That is number two, I will do this today, and expect absolutely correct results. That is not possible. So there are constraints, there are challenges, but somehow as teachers, we will have to make it work. We will have to find our own ways, and something might work for me, may not work for you. So if we are aware that this also needs to be done, then automatically, we shape our instructions in such a way that both are addressed. Systemic requirements and expectations. Sometimes, while you're taking a class and you share a joke and the children burst out laughing, and then you have your HOD walk by or the principal walk by, and she's not really amused, or he's not really happy that the children are, all hee ha ha, what happened to the seriousness of the curriculum. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. Not all institutions or not all settings will allow you the flexibility to be able to practice everything that you need to have a happy classroom. Lack of resources. In order to make classrooms happy, we have to involve technology nowadays, because that's what children relate to more. Gone are the days of board and chalk and duster. Now they need more lively things around them, things that they relate to. But if you do not have those resources, for example, say a simple music setup, or a flashboard, or some kind of a screen where you can project something. If these tools are not available, then you may not have the required response from your children. And finally, parental involvement and support. That is also very important. Some diverse backgrounds have diverse expectations, and they may not like their child going and learning things beyond the curriculum. I have in fact met parents who have come up with feedbacks like this, that बहुत ज़्यादा हंसी मजाक होता है, बच्चे पढ़ने जाते हैं. So that is also there. So basically it comes to the creating that fine balance. How do we balance both sides of the issue? So this slide is actually just a conclusion of whatever we have discussed this far. What we need to do, what we need to be mindful of, what are the things that we need to keep in mind when we are addressing different situations under different circumstances, and some such. Okay. So this is my presentation of the topic. I know I have, probably not allotted, I have not done basic time management here, but this is my first time, so please forgive me for that. I hope I have been able to address some of the questions that you may have had, but if there is something that you want to ask me, please feel free to do so. I would also like your feedback, teachers, on areas that I could improve, or where is it that you have felt you have benefited something from this session.
Nandita ma'am, it was a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rather, I believe it was an eye-opener for me.
Oh, wonderful, ma'am. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Is there
Hello.
anything that I can?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I can't believe that it is well begun is half done. So all the best.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
It
Thank
was
you.
wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
ma'am, for the informative session.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what do you
Yes,
mean
ma'am.
by cheat sheet?
Cheat sheet. So cheat sheet is basically something that you refer to, you know. So just like basically a summary. They call it a cheat sheet because you just read the points and then you have an idea what the content is.
May
So
I
we all
request you
used to
to
have.
stop the screen sharing, ma'am, so that.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, dear participants, we have shared the link of our WhatsApp webinar group. You people can join that webinar group for staying updated about our daily sessions. And still, we request the participants to come forward to give your wonderful feedback to the resource person, Mrs. Nandita Bhattacharjee.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. So I would like to thank both of you. Firstly, I would like